Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of March 26th, 2020. Our first agenda item is the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on March 12th, 2020. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
No.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 12th PIC hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Moving on to our public hearing continued on a petition by TC Systems, Inc. for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install a new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within the following public ways in Dorchester: Blue Hill Avenue, generally between Havelock Street and Wilcox Street, Havelock Street southwest of Blue Hill Avenue. This was new business on January 30th, 2020. It's had its public hearing on February 13th, 2020. Had its first public hearing continued on February 27th, 2020. Its second public hearing continued on March 12th, 2020. This is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Proposed Conduit Placement, Blue Hill Avenue at Havelock Street, City of Boston, one sheet dated January 23rd, 2019.
Okay, thanks for having me, everyone. My name is Adam Miller from Seattle Engineering Group, representing TC Systems. For this Blue Hill to Havelock Company petition, I unfortunately still do not have the approval letter from Accident you're hoping for, so I will have to ask for another continuation for this.
Great. So Adam, our next PIC meeting will be on April 23rd. Do you mind a continuance until April 23rd?
Yes, please, that sounds good.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
All set.
Todd or Robbie, on members of the public?
All set.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to continue this item until April 23rd.
I'll make a motion on the public hearing continued number 1 on a petition of TC Systems for a grant of location in Blue Hill Ave and Havelock Street to be continued to April 23rd.
Correct.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Okay.
Moving on to our next item, on a petition by Linear Retail Properties LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in East Boston, consisting of curb realignment, sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavements, street lights, street trees, irrigation infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, bike racks, and driveway curb cuts. The locations are Chelsea Street on its southeasterly side at address number 9, northeast of Maverick Street, Maverick Street on its northeasterly side at address numbers 144-148, southeast of Chelsea Street, and Bremen Street on its northwesterly side, generally northeast of Maverick Street. This was new business on February 27, 2020, at its first public hearing on March 12, 2020. And this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan, 9 Chelsea Street, 144, 146, and 148 Maverick Street, and Bremen Street, Boston, 3 sheets dated February 2020.
Morning, Dan Burke with Bowler. With me, I have the project architect, Mike Manchik with Forum Place, and I'm attempting to join remotely project attorney Richard Lenz and OPM Frank Kilday.
Very good.
As we start a new business, we have a project, commercial retail, 3-story building on the corner of Chelsea Street, Maverick Street, and a small amount of frontage on Bremen Street as well, of 39,000 square foot. So the specific repairs and improvements we're discussing are closing a curb cut on Chelsea, closing a wide curb cut on Bremen, placing with a small 12-foot curb cut on Bremen. Curb in the areas where we're closing, removing the set curb on all frontages, permeable paver strip, tree pits. There are 4 existing. We're adding 2. There's a ramp on the corner, revising those to be 2. Bike racks, there was conversation between new business and public hearing. We had 1 new bike rack shown. BTD, BPDA requested 2 additional for this use, so we've added 2 additional along Chelsea. There are 2 existing in front of the existing 154 Maverick building on Maverick Street as well. Those will remain in place. Light poles, we've worked with Streetlight, the street light standards that they'd like to see replacing on Chelsea Street and on Maverick Street as well. Utility connections, primarily all in Bremen Street. Couple changes to note in between new business and public hearing. Responding to comments that we heard in new business, we did they get changed to the rear is now going to be a ramp as opposed to stairs, giving able-bodied and disabled folks the same opportunity to come from the parking lot up to the entrance on Maverick Street. So we don't anticipate any kind of variance that we had mentioned before.
Great.
We
Dan?
also heard improving the frontage along the outside of our project. And what we did was we are now proposing to replace the existing light pole for other neighbors on Maverick, as well as filling in. They have recently reconstructed this corner here, which is now hatched on the plan. We're going to fill that gap in with new sidewalk. So all of Maverick Street's frontage will be improved to the corner. And we also heard about Sidewalk Cafe. We looked at that. We're comfortable with the design here. We did slide a light pole over a little bit to provide a little more flexibility for a future tenant. That would be on them in the future. So that is basically it. If you guys have any questions.
Dan, just to confirm, the path from Maverick Street to sort of the path behind your building is now a ramp rather than stairs, and that ramp will be accessible?
Correct. Correct.
Great. And doing some additional work sort of in that property that you surround at the intersection of Bremen and Maverick Street to have some sort of public realm continuity around that corner?
So I didn't hear that too well, but if you want to repeat yourself.
Sorry, Dan. Just to confirm that you're doing some additional work around the intersection of Bremen and Maverick, that property which is not part of your project, just to have some public realm continuity around that corner, is that correct?
On Maverick Street,
Yep.
yeah. They've recently done some work on the corner, new ADA ramps on the corner there. It's kind of hatched on the plan. So we're kind of filling in the gap. So Maverick Street, that will be a continuous kind of improved frontage.
Great.
Where they're doing work on Bremen to where they say recently reconstructed,
Yep.
there's a gap.
And
What
they're
is
filling the gap. Dan, I appreciate your work on that.
Yeah, no problem.
Other questions or comments? Todd or Avi?
What's that?
Members of the public through Todd or Avi? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion on the petition of linear retail properties for the making of specific repairs on Chelsea Street, Maverick Street, and Bremen Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our next item on a petition by Linear Retail Properties LLC for the granting of a projection license for the installation of canopies over portions of the following public ways in East Boston. Chelsea Street on its southeasterly side at address number 9, northeast of Maverick Street, and Maverick Street on its northeasterly side at address numbers 144-148, southeast of Chelsea Street. This was new business on February 27, 2020. Had its first public hearing on March 12, 2020. This is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Projection License Plan 9 Chelsea Street, 144, 146, and 148 Maverick Street, Boston. One sheet dated February 2020.
Again, Dan Burke with Bowler, again with me, Mike Manship, architect, home in place as well, potentially joining remotely Richard Lynn's project attorney, Frank Hill-Laomian. First off, I do want to clarify something that was stated in the new business hearing. There was a question about, we have some projections, which I'll take you through. There was a question about, were there any other bump outs on the building that went over the property line? There are a couple. They're under the 24-inch. Our project attorney has worked with ISD as well as PIC staff. They have determined fall under the de minimis policy. So I just wanted to mention that. If there's any questions, Richard or Mike can take those. As far as the actual projections, they're just under 3 feet from the base of the building. They're in what we'll call 3 locations. This is the Chelsea Street frontage here. It does go around the corner, and then there's an additional one on the Maverick Street frontage over here as well. So 3 feet above the face of the building, they're about 1 foot. They're in open metal, so they don't need to be drained. It's almost like a louver type design. And they're generally 11 to 12 feet from the sidewalk to the bottom side of the projection.
Any questions or comments on the projection license? No. Todd Arabi?
What's that?
Todd Arabi, members of the public?
No.
None. All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Linear Retail Properties LLC for the granting of projection license in Chelsea Street and Maverick Street as read into the record by the chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Dan, thank you so much.
So much.
Moving on to our public hearing, our first item is on a petition by TC Systems, Inc. for a grant of location with lead company status and no participants to install a new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within the following public ways in Dorchester: Blue Hill Avenue, generally at the Fremont Street Regis Road, and Fremont Street generally from Blue Hill Avenue to a point southeast of Babson Street. This was new business on March 12, 2020, and this is shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Blue Hill Avenue at Fremont Street, City of Boston, 4 sheets, dated July 12th, 2019.
Good morning again, Adam Heller with Sienna Engineering Group, representing TC Systems. At the new business hearing for this petition, it was asked that we include a second city shadow duct from St. Median overlap. That city shadow has been added for that 140 feet, that we're going to be a path that otherwise wouldn't exist for future utilities taken across the median there in Blue Hill. We also explored downsizing and relocating this structure that was also asked about. So we need a manhole here, however, we were able to downsize from 4x4 to a 3x3. Todd and I discussed this, and it was determined that it's best to leave that in the curb line rather than the furniture zone because it is a manhole rather than a handle. And other than that, the rest of the design are the same. Middle portion here highlighted in red is going to be part of the amended grant location, which is the big thing that is public hearing.
Right. So Adam, just to clarify, you've added the additional city shadow, downsized the proposed manhole at Fremont Street, and then just sort of represented the lease that's going to happen as well on these plans.
That's right.
Other questions or comments on this?
No.
Todd Arabi? All right, members of the public, on behalf of Todd Arabi?
All set?
All right. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by TC Systems, Inc. for the grant of location in Blue Hill Ave and Fremont Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to our next item on a joint petition by TC Systems, Inc. and Comcast to amend a grant of location to install new telecommunication fiber and existing conduit within Fremont Street, a public way in Dorchester, located northwest of Babson Street. This was new business on March 12th, 2020. And this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, amended grant of location plan, Blue Hill Avenue at Fremont Street, City of Boston, 1 sheet dated March 24th, 2020.
Morning, Adam Miller, Sienna Engineering Group, TC Systems. This is an amended grant application that goes in hand with the previous grant application petition. This highlighted red section shows a 120-foot section of conduit that we leased to place fiber in from Comcast. Comcast has, of course, signed on to the amended grant application petition. And this, of course, was, it's being, was decided this in order to limit the amount of excavation we need to do in the city street.
Great. Any questions or comments on this? Todd Arabi?
All set?
Members of the public?
All set?
All right. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a joint petition by TC Systems, Inc. and Comcast to amend a grant of location in Fremont Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Our next item is on a petition by Cambridge Network Solutions for the rental of city shadow to install new telecommunication fiber in existing conduit within Summer Street, a public way in Boston proper, located generally between Holly Street and Chauncey Street / Arch Street. This was new business on March 12th, 2020, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Proposed City Shadow Lease, Summer Street and Chauncey Street, Boston, 1 sheet, dated January 27th, 2020.
Good morning, thank you for having me. My name is Jeffrey Harrington, Jeffrey Harrington from Cambridge Network Solutions. The follow-up to the business meeting is we would like to utilize 4-inch-foot conduits from an existing CNS manhole to the intersection of Chauncey Street. And this is part of a bill that was done about 3 months ago where the conduit was put in, and there was 8-inch-and-a-quarter city shadow we're looking to utilize for it.
questions or comments on the proposed lease? No.
Nope.
Todd or Robbie?
We appreciate them using City Shadow.
We agree. Yes, thank you for leveraging the asset that's in place.
New as it may be.
Absolutely.
Todd or Robbie, or / members of the public?
None.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Cambridge Network Solutions for the rental of City Shadow in Summer Street as read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good day.
Moving on to our next item, on a petition by Center Court Partners LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb, sidewalk, roadway, pedestrian ramp, and speed hump reconstruction. The locations are Dern Street at address number 20 between Temple Street and Ridgeway Lane, and Temple Street north of Dern Street. This was new business on March 12th, 2020, and this is shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repairs Plan, 20 Dern Street, Public Way, Boston, one sheet dated December 2019.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Chris Iannuzian, civil engineer with EBI Consulting here, representing Center Court Partners with the sidewalk improvements along Dern Street and Temple Street. Since our last meeting, we have been in contact with transportation. I think we've rectified the placement of the brick pavers and the transitions to the park across on Temple Street. Just to reiterate what this project includes, is primarily just the sidewalk improvements along Dern Street and Temple Street. And it's really going to replace what's in kind of the activity with the inclusion of new accessible ramps at the intersection of Dern and Temple. That's primarily it. We're still waiting response from neighborhood services or waiting response from lighting department. However, we've been deferred by them to National Grid since they have jurisdiction over the gas lighting along Dern Street. We intend to satisfy the comments from the last meeting, which includes some no parking signs for deter parking along Temple. But primarily, that's really where we are today, and I'm looking forward to any questions you might have.
Todd, they maintain this?
So they actually have yet to get in touch with the city's legal department, and we'll need that to happen. I believe that there are aspects of this that should be maintained by the project, but that discussion is still ongoing.
And is that a conversation the proponent is familiar with?
Yeah, so we're going to need to know who your project's lawyer is, so that he or she can get in touch with our lawyer to work out the legal documentation that needs to happen.
Very well. I'll send that information to you.
Right. So it sounds like there are three pieces this vote would be contingent on. One is final coordination with the city's Office of Neighborhood Services to connect with, I think, the Beacon Hill Civic Association. The second is sort of final sign off from National Grid and our street lighting team around the street lights. And the third would be coordination with the city's law department around a license, maintenance, and indemnification agreement. Todd, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
okay. All right. And currently our treatment, I think Amy had flagged or Para had flagged in our last conversation, the parking that occurs sort of on the Temple Place sidewalk. So the BTD's recommendation was
Vertical
signage.
elements so that you got one half of this that where the brick flips to the other side, and that has trees and other things there, and no issues with parking. And then on the side that you're reconstructing, if you look at it on Street View or go out there, there are people
I
who.
just got there this morning. I looked at it, and someone parked actually on the sidewalks. I know exactly what you're referring to.
So if you add some vertical elements to your sidewalk behind the curb, whether it be signage or something of that nature to preclude parking on the sidewalk, it'll last longer, as this is now brick, but they should also not be on the sidewalk. But I think that also this is going to cut to the maintenance aspect of this and whom is maintaining bricks that are being driven on.
So I missed that last part.
So we're approving this with the notion that this will be maintained by the abutter.
Absolutely, yes. I will make that known. I'll work with the architect to come up with some vertical features for you. Continue to work with transportation and ISD on those as well.
Yeah, so it's got to stay, we still want to make sure that we have our accessible path. I know it's not wide out there, so maybe signs is the most appropriate way to go, just in some key locations to make it more difficult to just hop the curb and park.
Okay, very well.
So it sounds like this vote would be then contingent on four things: the coordination with the Office of Neighborhood Services, the coordination with National Grid and street lighting, the coordination with the law department on the license maintenance and indemnification agreement, and then final sign-off with the Boston Transportation Department and the Public Works Department on just sort of those vertical elements at the curb to deter parking on the sidewalk. Are you comfortable with those as the contingencies?
I really missed a lot of what you just said. I apologize.
Nope, I apologize.
A little closer to hear you. It's my own fault.
So the notion would be we would be voting to approve this contingent upon four things. The first is that coordination with our Office of Neighborhood Services around final outreach and engagement with the Beacon Hill Civic Association. The second is final sign-off from the Street Lighting Division and National Grid around the streetlight standards. The third is coordination with the city's law department around a license maintenance and indemnification agreement to maintain the elements of this that are part of the specific repair plan. And then fourth, just final sign-off with the Transportation Department and the Public Works Department on any vertical elements on the curb that would deter parking. Are you comfortable with those being the contingencies?
We're okay with that. We'll work with those.
Okay. All right, other questions or comments?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to mention, we are planning on replacing the water main at Dern Street, so that includes the hydrants and the sidewalk. At this time, we don't know when we'll be working, but if you see some temporary pavement there, that means that we've been there. If not, please coordinate with our construction department.
We will do that. I've also heard that there's going to be some storm drain replacements along Dern Street as well.
Yeah, I can get some information on that.
Okay.
And also, too, I did remember one thing, I apologize. On Temple Street, there were a couple of catch basins within the limit of work. If there are no gutter mounts there, please install gutter mounts. If not, if they're broken, please replace them.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
Thank
They're in
you.
tough shape, are they, or?
I actually haven't looked at them, but if they are, they need to be replaced.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. We'll see if we can include that in. Yeah.
This is a lot of work. This is a lot of conditional vote.
There is. Right. Your thought is whether it's better to continue for 4 weeks?
Continue until,
It's a month.
and is that going to be a challenge for them?
So we're not going out to construct, so.
Right, there's no construction right now.
That's what I'm saying. Clean the work, come back in 4 weeks.
So given all these contingencies, with sort of a fifth just added around the reconstruction of the gutter mouths, what's your thought on a continuation for 4 weeks till April 23rd, just so we can button up all 5 of these contingencies, and we can just have a vote without? Is that acceptable to you?
We'll give them a bulleted
That's
email.
fine, yes.
Okay, what's that?
We'll give them a
Right.
bulleted email.
We'll send you sort of all 5 of these, the 4 plus the one that was just mentioned around.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will entertain Todd or Robbie, any other comments?
None.
Members of the public? None? Okay. All right, then I'll entertain a motion to continue this item until our April 23rd PIC meeting.
I'll make a motion to continue the petition by Center Court Partners LLC for the making of specific repairs within Dern Street and Temple Street as read into the record by the chair to the April 23rd hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. See you on April 23rd. That concludes our public hearing portion. We are going to briefly adjourn and then reconvene for the new business hearing at 11 a.m. So I have entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, sorry, I apologize.
Make a motion
to
to
recess. I apologize. We're going to recess until 11 a.m. and then reopen the hearing at 11 a.m. for the new business portion.
I'll make a motion to recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. See everyone at 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'd like to reconvene the Public Improvement Commission hearing of March 26, 2020. Moving on to our new business section. Our first item is Hannon Street, Corbett Street, Nelson Street, Hopkins Street, Crowell Street, Capon Street, Dyer Street, Stanton Street, Thetford Avenue, Milton Avenue, Edson Street, Dorchester. Specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Transportation Department.
Good morning, my name is Stephanie Seskin. I'm the Active Transportation Director with the Boston Transportation Department. I'm here with 2 zones today. The first one is the Redefine Our Community or ROC zone. Neighborhood Slow Streets is the city's program to proactively address traffic safety in neighborhood streets. We prioritize zones based on demographics such as population of elders and youth, as well as crash history and presence of civic spaces, parks, libraries, and schools. Rock was chosen in 2018 to be in the program, and I will hand it over to Ron Peterson to talk through our proposed improvements.
Good morning. Our OC zone is generally bound by Evans Street to the south, Norfolk Street to the north, Milton Avenue and Ensign Street to the east, and then Norfolk is a connection to north to the west. We're proposing a total of 22 speed humps throughout the internal streets of the zone. These speed humps are going to be spaced evenly within those interior streets to promote a safe, uniform speed for cars traversing the neighborhood streets. The general spacing of the speed humps within the zone is between 165 and 360 feet. The location of the speed humps was determined based on field and observations to eliminate conflict with existing driveways. So some of these speed humps are located in locations where we're not going to conflict with existing driveways, as well as surface utility features like water shut-off valves, manholes, any other utility feature that's on the surface. We do not want to relocate those. I think it's all for speed humps. Any questions?
No questions for me on the speed humps. Other commissioners?
Okay.
All right.
So we're going to move over to the sheet for which illustrates two intersection improvements. The first one I'm going to describe is at Norfolk Street, Corbett Street, and Nelson Street. Nelson and Corbett are both one-way streets. Nelson goes northbound into terminates northbound into Norfolk. It has a 40-foot width layout. Same thing with Corbett. Corbett is one way going southbound and away from Norfolk. What we're proposing is a curb extension, 6-foot curb extension along Nelson Street, and then a pedestrian refuge island between Nelson Street and Corbett Street to shorten the crossing distance between Corbett and Nelson. We're reducing the crossings from 68-foot, road numbers, to 2 separate crossings that are each 18-foot wide. This also promotes a slower left turn from Norfolk Street onto Corbett. And we did report or we have data that reported a fatality at this location. So that determines this location to be a space where we want to provide some physical improvements to the intersection.
Any conversation with street lighting about this particular, about adding any lighting to the new refuge island?
We did share the plans with street lighting. They have not responded if they need more street lights.
Okay. If PAR or I can be helpful between now and the public hearing, let us know.
Okay.
I would say we do have some concerns about things on the island that we've been working through with the Public Works engineering team. Make sure that it's visible, but also taking into account that people are erratically driving in the area.
And so the designs may change a little bit, Stephanie, between now and public hearing.
I don't think it will change. I think it's just that we would be hesitant about putting street lights there.
On the island itself. So maybe it's more adjacent lighting.
You can't get it very far off the curb.
Right.
Yeah, we're proposing signage within the island,
Yep.
a number of signposts within the island to make them visible for turning traffic and also for traffic moving
Yep.
through.
Before the public hearing, video conference call between the Dickinson people, recessed in
We did not hear.
So we're just going to set up a call between Para, Amy, and the two of you prior to the public hearing, just to go through some of the specifics at that intersection.
Sure, yes, we'll follow up on specifics for the design of the alley.
Great. Other questions at this intersection before moving to Hopkins and Corbett? All right. You want to take us to Hopkins and Corbett?
So Hopkins and Corbett, we're trying to formalize the existing T intersection by extending the edge lines of Hopkins to make it a 90-degree intersection that improves the sight lines for stopping traffic approaching from Hopkins and stopping at Corbett. This also reduces the crossing distance for pedestrians from about 45 feet to 20 feet, which is going to be the opening on Hopkins, provides directional ramps, and provides a no parking zone right adjacent to the stop sign on Hopkins to, again, increase the sight lines and visibility of both pedestrians in that crosswalk for drivers on Hopkins.
Great.
In addition to adjusting the edge lines of Hopkins, we're proposing drainage improvements to continue to drain the intersection properly. There are no lighting improvements within the new area, and we're proposing a raised island along the edge of Corbett to discourage people from meandering and crossing at this location because of the sidelines from southbound Corbett at this location. So we've considered a crossing across Corbett as well, but because of sidelines, there is a sharp turn on Corbett over this intersection. Don't feel that we have sufficient sidelines to include a crossing along Corbett.
Great. Questions about this intersection? All right. Want to take us to Milton and Edson?
The last location within the ROC neighborhood, or we're proposing line changes are at Milton Avenue and Edson. They are both 40-foot wide layout streets. Edson extends northbound, that's one-way street. Milton enters the Y intersection as a one-way street, and then the southern portion of Milton Avenue is a two-way roadway. The north portions on Edson and Milton, on-street parking is allowed on both sides. At this point, there is no clear direction for traffic regulation within this large wide intersection. The proposed roundabout provides that clarification and the circular movement through the intersection. It also provides continual access to adjacent properties, so all adjacent driveways maintain the same level of access they have today. And it also introduces formal crosswalks at either end of the intersection. So we're proposing a crosswalk through a splitter island or pedestrian refuge on the southern portion of Milton Avenue, and then two crosswalks on Edson and Milton north of the intersection. With the changes in the layout, we're also going to make repairs to existing sidewalks that are either too narrow or have deteriorated over time. The lighting will be adjusted within the intersection to be moved closer to the edge lines, the new proposed edge lines. There are 3 existing light posts that are being adjusted, moved closer to the proposed crosswalks at this location. The roundabout itself is going to have a mountable apron, which provides a total width of 19 feet for emergency vehicles like fire trucks to navigate this intersection. Although the traffic lanes for personal vehicles is going to be narrower. The curb around the center island is mountable, so that shouldn't be an issue for an emergency vehicle traversing that first curb.
This may have been sort of discussed and dismissed, but any thoughts on sort of in the middle of that island planting any trees rather than having it be sort of concrete or pavers? Sightlines? Yep.
Are we discussing
Right.
the inside of the island? If we're
Or
proposing
any landscaping, exactly, landscaping of some sort. Or is that a sightline issue?
We won't be able to have a maintenance agreement for any greening.
Got it. Got it.
There's a vehicle through which all of that can get done. So again, another conference call for this one also.
Okay. Par is just asking to sort of get engaged in that conversation about the idea of potentially some landscaping there between now and public hearing, just see whether that's feasible or not, and whether that's something which we can maintain.
Another conference call.
Yep. So conference call with Para, Amy, and the two of you. Any other questions about this? No? All right. Other things the two of you want to present on this neighborhood Slow Street?
Yeah, these are all the proposed improvements in the ROC zone. We will be ready to move to the next zone.
Great. Before we get there, Todd or Ravi, any comments?
No.
Any comments from members of the public?
No.
Okay. So we'll see you on April 23rd, 4 weeks from now, on this one, and just have those two calls about those two intersections in advance. Moving on to our next item of new business. Norwell Street, Radcliffe Street, Elmont Street, Shafter Street, Carmen Street, Vassar Street, Ripley Road, and Dorchester, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Transportation Department.
Hello again, I'm Stephanie Simon with the Boston Transportation Department. Again, I'm from the Slow Streets program. This is our second zone on PCA, Washington Harbor, Norwell. Just like Rock, it was selected in 2018 for safety improvements based on demographic information, crash history, and proximity to community places such as parks and libraries. Radina and Kittleson will take it from here.
So as the name of the zone suggests, the area is bound by Washington Street, Harvard Street, and Norwell Street. Within this zone, we're proposing a total of 18 speed humps. These speed humps were located through field investigations to avoid conflicts or blocking existing driveways or locations that have existing utility features like water gates, manholes, etc. The spacing for the zone are between 160 and 250 feet, shorter blocks in this neighborhood. Any questions about the speed hump locations within the zone?
Not here. Questions? Nope.
Okay. So, within the hardware selection Norwell zone, we're proposing adjusting the edge lines along Vassar Street and Carmen Street. Both streets have a 40-foot layout. They're neighborhood streets. Carmen Street is one-way southbound approaching this intersection. Vassar Street is two-way to Schaefer Street. And then Schaefer is a one-way street southbound. The adjusted edge lines extends the existing, essentially, it's an extension of the existing edge lines to formalize the stop control on Vassar. It promotes a slower or a shorter, crossing distance on Vassar for pedestrians. It also provides directional crosswalks on Vassar, and then Ripley, which is the street continuing Carmen and south of this intersection. The curb extensions on Carmen and Vassar are both 6 foot wide and are proposed as extensions to allow better sight lines and discourage on-street parking as what we posted for regulations. The proposed openings, I guess, after the widening would occur is 20 feet for both Carmen and Vassar.
Questions or comments on this location? All right, you want to take us down to Ripley Road or further down Ripley Road?
So the last location in this zone is a race crosswalk on Ripley. This race crosswalk is located at the Ripley Playground, the entrance to the playground. It also functions one of 3 raised devices on Ripley to control the speed along Ripley. We have documented pedestrian activity crossing into this location, hence the proposed raised crosswalk mid-block in front of this park entrance.
Questions or comments on the Ripley Road crossing? Tyler, Ravi? Members of the public? All right. Anything else you guys want to cover on this one? Nope. All right, we'll see you on April 23rd for this one as well. Thank you so much. Moving on to our next item of new business, Northern Avenue, Pier 4 Boulevard, South Boston, a grant of location on a petition by Eversource Energy.
Hello, can you hear me?
You can.
This is Doug Zarnowski, project manager on behalf of Eversource Energy. Dialing in, I must say the audio is difficult to hear. I hope you can hear me okay. This project will relocate utility services to within Northern Ave and Pier 4 Boulevard to prepare the parcels at 75 to 85 Northern Ave for future development. The existing 115 kV pipe type line currently traverses the old Northern Ave right-of-way across 142 Northern Ave, crosses Pier 4 Boulevard, and then traverses 75 85 Northern Ave and continues along Northern Ave. Under this project, Eversource proposes to relocate the line out of Northern Avenue and to place within Pier 4 Boulevard and Northern Ave right-of-way. Presenting today in front of you is Amy Crange from WS Development and Agawal, excuse me. And also on the line is Jeff Kotoritz from VHP and Terry Foyer-Sanger from the Rights Department at Eversource Energy. I'll hand it over to Amy and Anu.
Thank you, Doug.
Just like Doug mentioned, the project itself, it's a existing transmission Eversource 115 kV line that services the Seaport area today. And that traverses a parcel G. The red line that's shown here is the existing line, and it bisects this parcel G, which is within the old Northern Avenue alignment. When the Northern Avenue was straightened out, all the utilities were moved except this Eversource line, and this project is going to do exactly that. You can go through all the plans, but if there's a question, you take that.
Can you cover what you're going to be removing from the existing, where that stretch that sort of cuts through the new parcel that is going to be discontinued? How much of that are you going to remove, and how much of that will remain after this construction project?
The line will be capped at the property line. So the existing line will remain within the public way. And when we go to develop Block G, that contractor will remove the line at that time.
To the cap, Amy? So, got it, okay. All right.
Todd, sorry, can you turn the camera for a... Hi, Amy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, Amy, as you know, the straightening of the Enstar's assets has been going on for about 20 years now. So even though when the city discontinued or removed Northern Avenue, that was a leftover item that had to be done for coming on to 2 decades now. So that being said, right now we have a very nice looking street over there, and you have a development project. Punchline is the work needs to be done, i.e. the Enstar work needs to be done. Question is, how is the street surface going to look in between the work that is being done and your project? So there needs to be some understandings where the work that was needed to be done for 20 plus years now is finally being done. We all are, clapping on that front, but we can't leave a road that is not complementary to all the fine work that has been done in terms of the building projects.
Apologize, you're not able to hear.
All the way.
Sorry, Amy?
It's a little quiet, but it's a little bit louder.
Oh, sorry. Amy, you know what I'm trying to say. Basically, no, I was having the conversation.
The restoration.
with you.
So there's a question about what the roadway surface is going to look like after this Eversource work is done. My understanding is that WS is committed to resurfacing the limits of this work from curb to curb after the Eversource work is done and before the work on parcel G commences. Is that accurate?
Thank you, Todd. Yes, we can hear you better. Yes, that's confirmed over the last phase of work for this scope of work. Repaving Northern Ave and Pierpont Boulevard. In addition to at the courthouse where we're putting in a new man.
Todd, my concern is the gap between NSTAR's work and the WS project.
How long
is
before
that
we're
gap?
gonna have the repaving? They're gonna dig it up soon, and then when will it get repaved?
I don't get whether it's 3 months, whether it needs to be done 10 times.
Amy, what is your construction timeline between, for Block G? You're not even in design phase now, correct?
We'll start design on that building.
It needs to be paid. Okay, so can you convey
I
this?
think when Block G goes forward, we'll also be repaving the street curb to curb at that time.
So Eversource work, pave, Ms. Frank comes later, pave it again.
That's right.
Yeah, it's probably several years, but yes.
Thank you, Ms. Frank.
Eversource had met with Ed about their construction. Did that resolve itself? Have you have an approved CMP?
You don't.
The CMP was sent over to BTD. We are still hoping to get the meeting with BTD.
All right. Hopefully within the month prior to the public hearing.
Yeah, what is that timeline to getting this work done? 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years?
That's a little up in the air right
Because
now.
it is difficult to, I mean, can you ask their timeline?
I think it's up to us.
There's a construction, like,
Like,
how long does it take to do
yes,
the work?
when the work starts, is it 3 months of work? Have they bought the wires?
What's the duration of this work?
So if all goes well, then we want to start May of this year. And then the civil construction, which is mainly installing the manhole as well as trenching with the transmission line, will be about 3 to 4 months. And after that, since we have 2 transmission lines, 1 line will be out of service at a time. So there'll be an outage 1, which is like 72 days, and then outage 2, which would be another 72 days. So in total, this would last till March of next year.
Is it 12 months, 8 months? March of
3 to 4 months, I think is what I heard.
8 of March.
So the open trenches are going to be there for, because I mean, that is one major approach to that whole complex, including the walkway to the water.
Yep.
So just, we need to get a sense of how.
Right, which is why in the next month, establish your construction management plan with a variety of contingency start times, I guess, would be prudent.
Well said.
Yes.
Other questions or comments on this?
I just wanted to add to the construction schedule, so the repaving, resurfacing is after that, scheduled for spring 2021. Sorry.
Yep, for spring of 2021 is what you're assuming? Okay, got it. Great. Other questions or comments? Todd or Avi?
What's that?
Members of the public?
None.
Okay. So we'll see you guys on April 23rd, and if you can coordinate with BTD on the construction management plan in the interim, that would be great.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys. Our next item of new business is 400 Summer Street, Congress Street, Boston Wharf Road, and Boston proper, pedestrian easement, specific repairs, private utility license, projection license, on a set of joint petitions by Seaport NP Title Holder LLC and Seaport Square Development Company LLC. Ken?
Yes, we can.
We can hear.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Jody Sanchez, and I'm from Goulston Stores, joining remotely. I'm here on behalf of the petitioners. I'm joined today by Amy Crane and Ali Rivera, who's joining by phone from WS Development, as well as John Schmidt from Niche Engineering. Today, we're before you for actions relating to the Block 2 project of Seaport Square, which will involve the construction of an underground shared parking garage on blocks N and P with a 17-story mixed-use tower above a portion of the garage to be leased by Foundation Medicine. The project will also deliver the Summer Street steps, which are public steps between blocks N and P, providing a much-needed pedestrian connection between Congress Street and the bridge. The project site is bounded by East Service Road to the east, Congress Street to the north, Summer Street to the south, and Boston Wharf Road to the west. In connection with the project, we are respectfully requesting approval of the following actions: a pedestrian easement along Boston Wharf Road to Congress Street, and license within Congress Street and Summer Street, specific repairs in Boston Wharf Road, Congress Street, and Summer Street, as well as a private utility license for telecommunication and data lines within Congress Street. These will all be memorialized in various LMIs and easement documentation if approved. Unless you have any questions, I'll now turn it over to Amy or John Schmidt there in person.
No questions, but if for the, no questions. But John, Amy, go forward on the specifics.
Sure, so if you can see the board here, here's parcel N and P. The specific repairs are part of Boston Wharf Road from under the Summer Street Bridge to Congress Street, then along Congress Street to the ramp, the I-90 ramp. Specific repairs on Boston Wharf Road, so reconstructing the sidewalk to allow a large 100-foot wide driveway entrance into a 3-bay loading dock, a 34-foot wide driveway into an underground garage, and then sidewalk improvements including impervious pavers, street trees from the edge of the garage to the intersection of Congress Street. I'd also like to go on record that WS is presently working with MassDOT, Boston Public Works, on the design and reconstruction of a number of streets within Seaport Square. 25% design drawings were submitted in December of 2019 or under review. WS is aware that the final design may be different than the drawings that are presented to you today, hopefully voted on at the next public hearing. But they are committed to revising the plans and amending the plans as necessary prior to construction. Right now, construction for the roadway, these sidewalks are tentatively scheduled for 20 months out.
Yeah, mid-2022.
Mid-2022. We've also had conversations just recently last week with the DPDA and Jim Fitzgerald as well. The drawings you have on Boston Wharf Road will be changed before the public hearing. Provide a wider bike lane, a 10-foot wide bike lane on Boston Wharf Road, and we're doing that by 50 granite curb sidewalk in this area of the sidewalk layout. Those drawings are in the works and will be shared and presented at the public hearing. Along Congress Street, along Congress Street from Boston Wharf Road to the I-90 ramp. We're providing concrete reconstructing the sidewalk there as well. To provide a 5.5-foot furnishing zone that consists of street trees, a landscape ground cover, as well as granite pavers. We are also introducing a bump out at this intersection for safe pedestrian access. And mid-block, at the bottom of the stairwell from Summer Street to Congress Street, we are building this bump out for a future crosswalk that will be completed when the developments across the street are completed, or when the roadway reconstruction work is completed, whichever happens first. And then on Summer Street itself,
John or Amy, while we're on this page. Hey, John. Sorry, while we're on this page, can you remind me what the sort of accessible path of travel is that sort of complements the stairs? Is there?
The stairs from above will come down here.
Right, so, yep, go ahead, sorry. Yep.
here, and this is the public sidewalk, concrete sidewalk, 8.5 foot minimum width.
Yep.
Then we bump out, we're gonna build this bump out now, but we will not put the crosswalk ramp in at this point. When the roadway is reconstructed, or when this building, the L5 comes online, we'll insert the ramp, and that way there'll be, safe pedestrian access from Summer Street, down the stairs, through the elevator, across Congress Street, and through the L4 parcel.
So I guess, I just want to make sure that the elevator that it's in, that would take people down to Congress Street, the entrance to it sort of also aligns with that crossing? Is that the case, or is it sort of offset from it?
We'll have an accessible path in both buildings and in P. The one in P is fully designed. We received a map variance for the stairs and the path as well. There's a publicly accessible 24/7 path through the building. There'll be signage at the steps directing people to go inside the public lobby, and then there's a garage that connects, an elevator that connects the garage to level 2. That will also be used for the steps. And then the one for N is still under design right now, so it's more like a schematic design set for block N.
If the entrances are near to where that crossing is,
So as you exit P,
exactly. So like whether we'd want to widen the widen the bump out so that it's clear. Exactly. Like again, I'm not exactly sure where it connects, but if in the public hearing, if that's a design alteration that sort of makes it just a clear visual cue for people who use the elevator.
We'll provide a diagram of the pedestrian path of travel at the public hearing.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and if I can, I don't know if you can hear me. Hi, this is Ali Ribeiro from WS.
Hey, Ali.
To add, the accessible connection at Block N will be immediately adjacent to the summer steps, so there would be direct connection there.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Moving along to Summer Street, the Summer Street Bridge is also part of in the design process and being vetted by the city and the state. At this point, what we'd like to do is build a bump. We're going to reconstruct the sidewalk in front of Building P at this point, so it's an accessible sidewalk. We're maintaining the existing curb line, although we're proposing a bump out here at the top of the stairs for a future crosswalk across Summer Street. We'll build the bump out now, but we will not build the ramps at this point until the Summer Street Bridge work is complete and ready for full construction. We also, and there will be a bike lane coming in here in the future. So as I said earlier, there's a lot of balls in the air. We will not build anything until those balls have settled out and everyone's on board.
Great. Thanks, John.
And it's typical with Boston, you can't have a wider sidewalk unless you have a pedestrian easement. So on Boston Wharf Road and along Congress Street, the area attached provides pedestrian easement from the existing property line to the building phase. The narrowest sidewalk is down here, which is 5 feet wide. Anywhere than that is greater. Up here, Petersville, and that's about 8.5 feet wide along Congress Street. So there is safe and pedestrian, accessible pedestrian access around the entire park.
Great. Go ahead, John. Yep.
We also have a series of canopies along Congress Street that are highlighted in blue, and these are along parcel P. When parcel N comes on board, the design progresses, we may be back for additional canopies, but these are the ones that we are aware of at this point. On Congress Street, all these canopies are greater than 10 feet above grade, as you can see in the detail in the upper left. We're about 10.3, 12.75, and they project no more than 2/3 of the sidewalk width out to the public sidewalk, which is standard, which is typical policy.
Great.
Along Fulton Street at Park Street, we have 4 additional canopies that run along the building space. These are approximately 7, they vary, like 15 and 17 feet high. That's like the grade of the bridge. They project approximately 2/3 out. There's one area where 50% sidewalk width, everything else 2/3 greater, 2/3 or less. Reason is but in the future, as you know, there will most likely be a bike lane here. And,
John, I might have just, you were breaking up a little bit, but it sounded like the easternmost canopy might be covering more than 2/3 of the sidewalk. Is that right?
Right. The one, this one on canopy here, sorry. Actually, I'm mistaken. I'm getting confused with my notes.
I believe all the canopies are within, they respect the 2/3
Great.
requirement.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll check that. There might be one that's at 60%, but there's nothing greater than that.
Okay.
Okay, Jack, no, 2/3 of the current sidewalk width, but the sidewalks are going to be.
Yeah, the bike lane and the wider
Right.
bucket won't be an issue.
Great.
And then our last action is for a data line around across Congress Street. Again, this is parcel P. This is the bump out along Congress Street. This is parcel L5. We'll improve the labeling, improve the public hearing, but we want to tell data conduit across Congress Street, very similar to what we did recently on Seaport Boulevard at 121 Seaport.
Great. One minor note on this, and I defer to Todd on the language, whether we want to not just have the cover say private utility crossing, but we want to note who the actual owner is in case there's a need to respond more quickly. If you can just think about that between now and the public hearing, that'd be great.
And that's it for our presentation.
Questions or comments on any of these 4 actions?
No, I mean, we are the moving target on Boston Wharf Road, but we are actively figuring out where the bike accommodation is going to land, and I feel like that's going to allow the rest of it to be finalized.
Great. And we think we can do that before
Yes.
the next 4 weeks?
Yes.
Great.
I also had a comment on Boston Wharf Road. I know you mentioned you'll be revising the plans. If the plan were as today, the comments that we had 2 catch basins on Boston Wharf Road. You have, you show a new curb line, and then you show the existing curb line, but then you say to protect and maintain the existing catch basin. So the catch basin will have to be adjusted or relocated. You know, if the curb line was the same way today. So that's something that we have to figure out before public hearing.
Understood. We'll address that before the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
And for some housekeeping issues, a TAPA was executed in December of 2019. The CMP was executed in October of 2019. And then the project is in construction. Well, not today it is, but it's ready to go when the world is.
Para.
John? Okay, Todd, just tell them to send you a copy of the TAPA, and I need about a week to field review this and get them comments. Let me say that, because I don't think they can pick up the voice.
You can get us comments.
John, if you can just submit a TAPA or a copy of the TAPA to PIC staff.
Will do.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Todd or Abby?
All set.
All right. Members of the public?
None.
All right. We'll see you guys on April 23rd.
Thank you.
All
Stay
right.
safe, everyone.
You guys too. Our next item is 37 North Beacon Street, Everett Street, Harvester Street in Brighton, pedestrian easement specific repairs on a set of petitions by Center Court Partners, LLC. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, my name is Paul Rufo. I'm the attorney for the developer. My office is at Smith, Doug & Dewey Rufo, 101 Arch Street in Boston. And with me today is Anthony Donato from HW Moore Hancock. Right, Moore Hancock. We have 3 items on the agenda. A petition easement along Everett Street and North Beacon Streets in the neighborhood district. The other is and two specific repairs, one on Harvester Street and one along North Beacon and Everett Street. Before I begin, I would just note that, for the record, that the agenda that you have today, this is the owner of this project indirectly, known as the Senate Court Apartments LLC. The actual correct owner is 37-43.
I apologize, Paul, but you're breaking up a little bit there.
37-43.
Oh, 37-43, got it.
Petitioner is listed.
3743 North Beacon Street LLC is the correct owner, and the Mount Vernon Company, Inc. is the manager of that LLC.
Great, terrific.
The petitioner. So, just taking whatever order Tony would like to take on pedestrian easement. Perhaps first Sean, Tony, do. Okay.
We are proposing the pedestrian easements on North Beacon Street and Everett Street. And along North Beacon Street, with the easements, the sidewalk is 13.5 feet wide. With a couple of planters in there, it gets reduced to 8-foot minimum. And along Everett Street, there's a 13-foot wide sidewalk, and the minimum planters is 3x5 planters there, minimum walkway there is 10.
Any questions on the pedestrian easement?
None. Nope. You can go on to specific repairs.
The specific repairs for North Beacon and Everett Streets and Harvester.
Sure. So along North Beacon Street, we're proposing 150 feet of sidewalk replacement. The curb grade stays the same. We're proposing to add 3 new tree plantings along here. They'll be about 12 to 15 feet high on installation. There's also reconstructing the driveway entrance to Sinclair Place. We're also proposing to replace 140 feet along Everett Street.
Oh,
Same
we already asked, they can't split it.
curb line stays the same. And we're proposing to add 3 3x5 tree pits along here. And along Harvester Street in the back, we are replacing approximately 40 feet of sidewalk within the right of way and constructing a driveway entrance to the garage underneath the building. Score lines are standard 5x5. Do you have any questions on that?
Todd, just to on the record, the issue that you had identified for us, which we wanted to clarify with regard to Harvester Street. So Harvester Street, the left forward will be in the public way a number of decades after the initial subdivision was run out in the late 1800s. There was a private way 40 feet wide that each of these parcels owned 10 line. And then at some point in time, hundreds, the city accepted Harvester Street.
Is this our alley acceptance?
Only 35. So the remaining 5 still part of the parcel where there's one there. There's still a 5-foot wide strip that is a part of an anomaly on the record. So that is the area that Tony said that's the area that's going to be But it's part of the private right of way, I'm sorry, that on land by the petitioner.
Sorry, Paul, you were breaking up a little bit there, but this is essentially that strip along Harvester? Is that right?
So the 5-foot strip on Harvester that's listed as an easement on their plans is essentially a private or limited easement. It's not considered a public easement in any way. It's not a pedestrian easement that was granted or is being granted. It's really, for our PIC's purposes, it should be considered part of the private parcel.
Thank you.
So the sidewalk's on private property?
No, there is a narrow sidewalk within the public way layout outside of that easement. But the 5-foot easement is behind the back edge of the sidewalk.
Is that conclude? Yes. Thank you. That concludes our presentation.
I know you covered this, but can you just walk us through what the streetscape looks like on North Beacon Street? In particular, sort of what the sort of the design of the planting beds and sort of what that curb looks like and how we actually imagine that curb being used?
Also, are there lights on every?
Yes, so, I'm sorry. You said along North Beacon Street?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a planter, there's one planter that contains two tree pits over here, and then there's a break. There's two planters, basically. The larger planter, which is approximately, I'd say about 30 trees, and then there's a break for some one single tree. Okay, here. And it's flushed, and then within the planter is just mulch.
Got it. And how do you imagine that curb being used from just a BTD regulatory perspective?
Yeah, because leaving the cutout between the planters, that's clearly at the door.
Exactly.
What's the signage?
Yeah. I don't know if you heard that, but if you have a cutout, that break between the two planters essentially in line with your main door, we just want to have an understanding of, I guess it's a conversation between the transportation department and you about how you want that to be, or how we want that to be signed.
What's the curbside regulation there? Because we're essentially promoting it right after a crosswalk. So is the intention that people are going to pull over there?
Over here, yeah, there's a mast on for the signal light. Is that what you're referring to at the corner?
You've created a break in the planters, presumably at your front door, to allow people to get in and out of their car there?
Right, I think there might be a structure there too. I'd have to check the survey. There's some manhole structures over there that we had decided not to avoid. Yeah, there is a manhole over there.
Not on the plans.
And there is a little break, correct. I don't think, there's a short little break right here for people to get out.
Got it.
Right, so if you create a break in your planting beds in front of a door, you're creating an area where we're going to induce pickup drop-off.
Okay, you want us to create one and another one? Is that what you're saying?
So
No, you show one right now.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Correct.
And immediately behind the back of the sidewalk there is a door.
Correct.
So if I want to get to that door, it's a high likelihood that a car will come and stop at that curb spot to let me out through that planting bed, as if you have created a pickup drop-off area. Whether your intention or not, it reads differently. And so the notion of people picking up and dropping off right there, so close to a crosswalk at a signalized intersection, what is the curbside regulation in front of your trees?
I'm sorry, what is the curb?
Is there parking in front of your property?
Yeah, there is parking all along that street, along North Beacon Street. It's just posted as parking.
So I think it's worth it between now and the public hearing for you just to have a meeting with the Boston Transportation Department about the design of your North Beacon Street frontage and how you plan on having it used. Because as it's currently designed, you essentially are channeling everybody for a pickup drop-off either just after the crosswalk or sort of at the end of the block, and just to work through whether that's how that curb should be used and whether that works for all parties. Does that work for you, Amy? Yeah. Anthony, is that clear?
Yes, you want me to follow up with Amy and ask? Oh, okay. Yeah,
Exactly.
will do. Thank you.
And the one other bit of follow-up on Everett Street, are you adding any streetlights?
No, we are not adding any streetlights.
Okay.
Are there streetlights?
I don't believe so.
Chief, we need to review this the field because we've done the work and so we'll give them composite comments.
Track light, there's no streetlights here. Oh, no, there is one streetlight here at the back of the site.
Okay. So if, between now and, again, the public hearing, we'll just do a quick field review around lighting on Everett Street, and we can work with you on that. We'll work with you, Anthony, on doing a field review to make sure that there's the appropriate lighting on Everett Street and that there doesn't need to be any changes to it.
Verify that there are in fact no lights there, as opposed to the lights just being omitted from the plans. And if there are no lights there in reality, then we'll need to work with street lighting to determine whether or not that's appropriate.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Just close to the microphone.
That's good. Right. Other questions or comments? All right. Todd or Robbie?
All set.
Members of the public?
No.
All right. We'll see you on April 23rd.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Anthony. Our next item is 5 Babson Street, Blue Hill Avenue, Boston proper, a grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber.
The next 6 items is from Crown Castle. They have gone now into our neighborhoods. There are 6 neighborhoods, which is, I think we need to know what is it that they are.
Their plan.
Because one minute they were in the downtown area, now they are going. It is possible that we may have asked them in the past for overall plan.
Like
I don't
Donnie is,
remember whether they have shared that information.
They
So
have.
every once in a while, they should give us a presentation sheet to let us know, hey, we are now, you know.
Donaghy's doing it. We're
Yeah.
trying to wrangle this
Oh, okay,
through
okay,
Cobox 2.0.
Sorry.
No, it's a great question.
Well,
Good afternoon.
Chris Mario with the Giovanni Group, representing Crown Castle, the grand location on Babson Street at Google Avenue. Purpose of this project is to relocate an existing Crown Castle conduit on the opposite side of the street to a Boston Water and Sewer. I don't know if it's a water main or a sewer main project that the existing facility is in conflict with. So this new will reroute away from their construction zone, effectively getting Crown Castle's conduit out of the way.
Great.
Is it a dig or what are they doing, Amy? It's a dig.
It's a
Or do we-
micro trench.
Right.
Oh, my.
They're replacing a micro trench with a micro trench to get out of Denise's well.
Any questions or comments on this?
Chief, can you ask about the broader picture? Because the next 6 items are there going into our neighborhoods.
So, and thinking of the work that Crown Castle is doing, have you been coordinating with Mike Donaghy on your comprehensive build-out plan for the course of this construction season?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you know if Crown Castle has been coordinating with Mike Donaghy on your overall build-out plan for this construction season?
You need to back off the mic a little bit.
Has Crown Castle been coordinating with Mike Donaghy of the Public Works Street Lighting Division regarding their citywide build-out plans for this construction season?
I don't know the answer to that. I can find out.
All right.
We typically address the street lighting division on all the applications to the Public Improvement Commission.
That's not the question.
It is.
It's a macro view.
Not the right. So, all right, we'll follow up with you afterwards as well as Crown Castle directly on that. Any questions or comments on this? No. Todd or Robbie?
All set.
All right, members of the public? All right. We will see you on April 23rd for this one. Does that work for you?
Okay, thank you.
Great. moving on to our next item, 906 Albany Street, Dearborn Street, Roxbury, grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber.
Chris Murray with the GMR Group representing Crown Castle. Grant location at Albany Street, Dearborn Street, Roxbury. For this project will be to bring fiber optic services to 906 Albany Street, which is a City of Boston public school. We had no participants in this project, and we coordinated with the Disabilities Commission to move a handle that was currently or was in the crosswalk. Plans have been revised to show it out of the crosswalk, and I will submit those plans prior to the next meeting.
We can figure it out before the public hearing, but going into a school, we might not want a micro trench.
Sorry, Amy, can you say that again?
For the going into a school, can you go back to a conventional trench?
Are we going back to conventional trench?
We're asking you to. For the all projects connecting city buildings, we'd like them in a conventional trench and not in a micro trench.
I'll bring that up to the construction manager handling this project and see what they say.
Okay, we're working through what our new micro trenching policy is going to be, so they should prepare for this ask, because I think we're going to see less micro trenching, but especially as it pertains to school or city projects.
Understood.
Other questions or comments on this one? No, Todd or Robbie? Members of the public? All right. Moving on to our next item. What's that? Oh, sorry, I apologize. Chris, was you on April 23rd for that one?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Great. Our next item is 650 East 4th Street, I Street, South Boston, grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber.
Again, Chris Murray with the GMR Group. On behalf of Crown Castle, the lead company status, fiber optic facilities, and get a grant location for 4th Street, I Street, South Boston. This is to feed another public school at 650 East 4th Street. All of the public agencies that were notified have come back with no issues.
Same comment, we want it to go in a traditional trench.
Understood.
The proposed, that's 3x3. I guess if you can take a look and see whether there's any way you can reduce the size of the handhole that you're showing on East 4th Street, and if possible, move it to the furnishing zone rather than having it in the adjacent to the curb. If that's feasible, that'd be great, Chris.
So the handhole on East 4th, we're looking to reduce the size.
And put into the furnishing zone rather than the roadway.
And bring it out of the roadway?
Yeah, no.
To the sidewalk?
If it's feasible, if you can connect with Todd about whether that's possible, that would be great.
The answer might change when you get into a traditional trench too.
Right, it might.
Or like the structure itself.
Okay. Other questions or comments on this? Todd or Robbie? Members of the public? All right, we'll see you in 4 weeks on this one, Chris. Great. Moving on to our next item, 35 Brookford Street, Dorchester, a grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber.
And Chris Murray with the GMR Group, representing Crown Castle, for Brookford Street, Dorchester. This is to feed a customer, 35 Brookford Street, again being the City of Boston Public School. The only issue that we received in regards to public agencies was there's an accessible parking space that we need to take into account, and there's a form that we need to send into that commission prior to the work. That will be coordinated with Sarah Long, their department.
Right.
And if the commission desires, we'll look at doing this conventional trench as well.
Thank you.
Great, and if as part of that, the proposed handhold, again, if feasible, moving into the furnishing zone on the sidewalk, if you can review that with the PIC team, that'd be great.
Understood.
Great, thanks, Chris. Other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
All set.
Members of the public?
None.
All right. Chris, we'll see you in 4 weeks on this one, on April 23rd.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Moving on to our next item, 20 Child Street, Carolina Avenue, South Street, Sedgwick Street, West Roxbury, a grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber.
Chris Moore with the Jumar Group. To get grant location Carolina Avenue, South Street, and Sedgwick Street, West Roxbury. In order to grant fiber optic services to 20 Child Street, which again is a school. And the only issue, similar to the last one, was the accessible parking space. That was the disability commission. And we will look into conventional trench as well.
You're not worried about the abandoned trucks?
I've added.
Yes, if they don't care, we don't go.
I don't know how much was removed. Probably,
Well, it says abandoned.
fair enough, probably that.
It's a hazmat to remove, so it's expensive. They usually stay right where they are. All that creosote they put in the railroad ties.
Worth it to explore?
Well, I think it might be worth it to explore if they move from a micro trench to a conventional trench.
Got it. If, Chris, between now and the public hearing, if you can just connect with the PIC staff around the abandoned sort of E-line extension tracks in South Street, that'd be great. And the impact it may have on your project.
You're saying that we could microtrench this because of the tracks?
I think that's the conversation to have with the PIC
Or
team.
pull it out of the tracks and do a
Conventional
conventional
trench.
trench in the regular roadway, unencumbered by tracks. We'll send you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Any other questions or comments? Todd or Robbie?
All set.
Members of the public? All right. Chris, we'll see you in 4 weeks on this one.
Thank you.
Our next item is 40 Armington Street, Brighton Avenue, Islington Street, Brighton, grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber.
Chris Moore with the Jumar Group, representing Crown Castle for grant location on Arlington Street, Brighton Avenue, and Islington Street. Just of note on the new business page here, we've got, it says 20 Arlington, it should be 40.
Yep, it's 40 Armington, yes.
Yeah, we have an old copy, but
Yep.
it says 20 online.
The initial draft said 20, the final says.
Says 40.
They have found more abandoned tracks.
The A-line, going from the E-line to the A-line.
Okay, great, thank you. So we'll be looking for grant location on right now in Islington Street, again, to provide fiber optic services to public schools, to Boston Middle School, on Arlington Street. And we'll take into account the desire of PIC to conventional trench as opposed to micro trench.
Great, and one note, this stretch of Brighton Ave has our new bus lane, so if you can just make sure that when it's repaired, that we're repairing the bus lane as well. Basically just ensuring that whatever markings are there for the bus lane are restored.
All right, we'll do.
And bike lane, right, combined bus bike lane.
If you let them in a micro trench, you're gonna have to ride a line or something that they can repaint.
Right. Other questions or comments? All right, Todd or Robbie? Members of the public? All right, Chris, we'll see you in 4 weeks on this one.
All right, thank you.
Great. All right, our final item of new business is 302 Walnut Avenue, Roxbury, grant of location on a petition by Crown Castle Fiber.
Chris Moran with the Jumar Group, representing Crown Castle, the company status with no participant. Grant location on Walnut Avenue in Roxbury. services to 302 Walnut Avenue, which again is the City of Boston Public School. We had no issues from the EIC agencies. The only thing that came up was the location of the handhole on Walnut Avenue near Ruthven Street. And that has been moved next to the crosswalk, so it will not be in the crosswalk. And we'll look into convention trench as opposed to microduct.
Great. All right. Questions or comments on this? No? Todd or Robbie?
All set?
Members of the public?
None.
All right, Chris, we'll see you on April 23rd for this one as well. Does that work for you?
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and stay safe.
Thank you so much. You too. All right, that concludes our PIC hearing. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.